Just
You
have
could li-
have the entire conversation again. Um, all right, hold on. Let me just double check if it's I clicked record. Maybe it's not recording. Hold on. Oh, it is. It is recording. It is recording. Yeah. Cool. Um, but yeah, I guess I'll start it off just because I kind of kicked it off. I have started grad school. Um, I guess in some ways, like I already started it back in June, but we kind of had like our uh like the official start was this week with all the other um like MBA candidates. So it's like I guess the recording didn't catch the part where I talked about how it feels like being back in school, but in some ways it's familiar, in some ways it's also very unfamiliar. So trying to figure out kind of the middle ground for that. Um, I was in Korea and a little bit in Japan over the summer. That was really nice, and I don't know if you guys like you probably don't know, but while I was in Korea, I actually did you guys hear about this American soldier that defected into North Korea? Like it
yeah.
was like news that happened like a few weeks ago.
I
Um,
miss.
dude, I was literally there when it happened. Like our our program did a cultural immersion to the DMZ. Um, and literally like one of the dudes on our tour was the guy who decided to defect. Um,
Holy.
dude, so if you look at some of
What?
the yeah, like if you look at some of the news articles, you'll see the back of my head. Uh,
What?
dude,
Yo.
that's me right there. That's me right there, dude. I, I think it's so funny,
No.
Oh
dude.
man.
Bro, from this picture, it genuinely looks like I'm the one that defected. Like it looks like I'm Travis King, not this guy. Um,
That's
but
crazy.
This is insane.
yeah, dude, it is so yeah. Honestly, like I think that photo is like it's like the
Oh
official
my God.
photo. Like I keep
That's
showing up,
crazy. Yeah, no, that's like historic. You have to like save that and keep it to show your
dude. Yeah,
kids.
I definitely scrapbooked it, or digital scrapbooking or whatever. Um,
How
but
was
that
Travis
was
King the man? Was he nice?
dude. That guy was pretty sus. I'm not gonna lie. Like the whole like because I think he was the only person who was on this tour by himself. Like he would just kind of like wander around throughout the entire day. I mean, he was with us the whole day. Like he was patiently waiting since 6 a.m. to get to the Panmunjom and then
Mhm.
like cross the North Korean border. So, um,
Gosh.
like he, yeah, like he it was very deliberate. Um, Uh, and yeah, like I don't think anybody was expecting that to happen, but it did, and it was quite the moment. It was like if I really sit down and just think about that moment again, like I really like try to like relive it. It is
Yeah,
like
like did you have a sense of how crazy what was happening like was in the moment?
I think afterwards, I was kind of thinking like, oh, given how easy it is to defect, like maybe this happens pretty frequently, you know?
Mm,
Maybe this is like a pretty frequent occurrence. But the guy who was giving us a tour was like, the last time somebody willfully defected to North Korea from South Korea was like 50 years ago.
yeah,
Mm.
So, I
that's
mean, it was a
crazy.
very, yeah, it was a very historic moment. But, uh, but yeah, I think if I think about the summer, like I really think about that particular moment. I feel like I'm beating this story to like it's like a dead horse now because I think I've told it so many times to people who have asked me how was my summer. But I mean, it's
No, you're just
you
you're
guys
refining
agree?
it. You're perfecting
Yeah,
it. Huh?
like I think I'm getting better at saying the story, and I know which one like what punchline works and what doesn't now.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
You're
um,
workshopping the material, yeah.
exactly. Um, but yeah, other than that, I mean, like that was big. I was I started. I've been. I think I've like been really getting into Japanese films because maybe it's probably because I was spending some time in Japan. Um, I spent 2 days in Kamakura, which is where they shot Seaside Diaries by
Mm,
Korida Hirokazu. So I like
mm,
went to go to some film locations there. Um, and then I recently started rewatching Lost in Translation. Like it is actually such a good movie.
It's
Um,
a you movie. I can't believe you hadn't seen that.
no, I watched it, but like
Oh, yeah.
it's been some time, and
Yeah.
I think I was kind of like, I was like, huh, I want to watch a movie about being a foreigner in Japan. What's a movie that's like that? And it's literally Lost in Translation. Um, so
that and Tokyo Drift.
I actually have not watched Tokyo Drift yet, so maybe I gotta rewatch that at one point, or not rewatch, like need to watch it at one point. Um,
Mm,
but I guess that's me for and then like just my brief summer update. Like Kamakura, Tokyo, they're really nice. I also visited the Studio Ghibli Museum. That was also very much like my like inner child's dream come true sort of moment.
mm.
It's a great
So
museum.
have you been?
I think as a kid, really long
Mm.
ago, they have like the cat bus, right? And you can like walk
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
it
yeah.
is a very like I think I definitely was like holding up the upper age range while I was there. Like it was me and then like the parents and then like 8 year olds, you know. Um, but it was a good time. Um, anyway, what about you guys? Any updates from either Youngwang or Jackson?
Yeah. You wanna go? You gotta go?
Sure. I finished. Well, I'm in the midst of finishing my proposal for the
Oh, nice.
prospectus.
Nice.
Uh, though it seems the proposal is less of like a idea for like the embryo for a project. So I don't really have like a exact thesis statement, but it's more like a proposal of these are the professors I want to work with. These are the general fields, things I want to work with, whether it's novels, films, um, criticism, theory,
Nice.
things of that nature. And it's really a logistical project of just gathering the professors, emailing them, finding time to meet them, talking to them.
You should
So
definitely bring
yeah,
in some of the films that you're gonna watch for your project, and we can watch them like for a meeting at one time. That'd be fun.
that's actually a great idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You can kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I wish I'd been doing more thesis research when we were doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll just be able to, I'll have more ears,
Yeah.
your guys' ears to, float whatever idea that I have at the moment. So yeah, phenomenal idea. Um, yeah, so that's mostly been what's taking up my time. I don't have a spectacular story like Andrew does. I'm still kind of reeling from what I just heard and what I've seen. That photo, that
I,
photo, that photo is crazy.
It's crazy.
dude, I,
You have receipts too. It's crazy.
I love how like it is really nice having that photo because I think people don't really realize like how immediate my observation was of the whole moment until they see the photo. They're
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit." Like that's what you mean by like you saw somebody like I think when somebody hears that like, "Oh, I saw somebody defect," it just kind of feels abstract, right? It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
like it's like you're seeing somebody who like jaywalked or you saw somebody who was like drunkenly hitting things over but like once they see that photo it's kind of like oh like that
You
that is
watch a
some
dude
real
walk
shit, you know.
his ass
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
period. Like,
Yeah, it is it kind of feels like cheating though because like I didn't work for this story. I just like happened to be there when it happened.
yeah, that's like still, like
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
that's
definitely
so
once in a
wild.
lifetime moment. Yeah.
yeah.
Anything you watch, Youngwang? Like I guess outside of the spotlight films that. you've enjoyed or any showings you
Yeah,
went to?
yeah. So I finished the Ozu retrospective. Via,
Oh,
Oh wow.
yeah. So I've now seen every single extant Ozu film there is.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that the most
How
complete
many are
filmography you've
there?
seen, you think?
Oh, sorry. Jackson, what was your question?
Oh, I was asking, do you think that's the most the most complete filmography from a director you've seen now?
Yeah, I mean, I've completed other filmographies before, but they're a lot shorter. And to Andrew's question, I think that's around, like, including the short films, I think that's around 35 films.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was
That's
that
serious.
was that like was the retrospect? I guess two questions. Was the retrospective being shown like at Brattle and nearby? And how many did you like? How many Ozu films did you already watch, and how many did you have to like add to watch every single Ozu?
Uh-huh. So I'd seen five,
Okay.
yeah, five, Late Spring, Tokyo Story,
Uh-huh.
Equinox, Flower, Autumn Afternoon, and Floating Reeds, the sort of the big names.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, then I rewatched some of them. I will be rewatching Tokyo Story on
Mm,
Saturday and Autumn Afternoon, which is his last film, on
mm,
Sunday, just to like cap things off, see how I feel. Um,
oh,
it was showing in the Harvard Film Archive over the
I see.
summer, and I think they were trying to get money because Harvard students usually aren't available, and it's
Mm,
usually senior citizens and professors in the area. But I was
yeah.
one of the few students who were, so
Yeah.
it was all for free.
Nice.
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's the way to do it.
Wow. Did you feel yourself getting into like an Ozu brain over time? Like you get really used to the kind of contours of his style, or like the kind of like as you watch like your 20th, 25th film from him,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
It's
dipped in it.
yeah, it's like you like I think that's exactly I think it's when you watch another film that's not by Ozu that you really realize how much of a
Yeah.
stylist he
Hmm.
is, even though you don't necessarily associate Ozu with like a really flashy formalism, but you realize how different his movies look, how they
Hmm.
cut, how they move, how they talk,
Hmm.
um, how they how they sort of set up really thorny ideas in close opposition, yet in the end always achieving a kind of equilibrium that
Hmm.
really resembles the kind of mundanity and the kind of disappointment of life. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and you see a lot of films like, to be blunt, fall short of that really supreme ideal,
Yeah.
I think. And yeah, I mean, it just really just revealed to me how much of a towering artist he really is. And yeah, it's
The-
not even much of an influence. It's just a shadow because no one is
Hmm.
quite doing it like the man is. So
yeah.
Oh,
Uh, I
I
mean, I
gotta
feel
send my
like,
brother at Harvard to the film archive more. I feel like he's missing out on a lot of great stuff.
oh
that's
yeah,
true. I I feel like yeah, by the time you watched like the 20 something Ozu, like I can't like expect you to like I feel like fundamentally the way you see the world like has to change after you're seeing it through like Ozu's lens for that long, you know? Like
Mhm, mhm.
I feel like afterwards like everything will feel like an alleyway and like a passageway to a different it's kind of like I think for me I had a very similar feeling where like I think I watched like a few like Ho Xiaoshen films in a row, and then like the immediate 5 minutes after I finished like the last of his films, like I felt like the world behind beyond the screen literally was being like like my eyes felt like it was perceiving the world in a way that Ho Xiaoshen was perceiving it.
Yeah,
Um, it is like I think that is like probably like the most magical moment in cinema, where like your I guess like your eyes and the camera kind of um like become one and the same, at least for a brief bit,
yeah,
you know.
Hmm.
Um,
yeah, yeah,
Kind of continues beyond the end of the film. because it's
Yeah,
just so
yeah. And I think
yeah.
like your eyes become sort of a product of all the different cameras of the camera, the kino eye of like directors that you've watched, right?
Yeah.
Um, but that's the super, yeah, I think I should. This makes me want to go watch an Ozu
Yeah, it
film
makes me
right
want to go
now.
watch some more
Yeah,
Ozzy
like
films. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely
Your plan is
feeling
working,
inspired.
Bubba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I
It also really just
what
makes me want to like pick up another director who has like a 30 plus filmography and just
Yeah, right. What
yeah,
a
run myself through it.
funny.
Hong Sang-soo right there.
That's
Hey,
true.
not even
Yeah,
a joke. That might be next up for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, he
It's
has yet
like
another new film at New York Film Festival this year. I'm really
I
excited.
saw that. It was like
So
That
our
lineup this
lives.
year is crazy.
It
Actually, the
was
whole
the
festival lineup this year is crazy. If there was ever a time you guys wanted to come visit the city, we should maybe make it in this window.
oh
It's
shit.
when is it? Oh,
end of
okay.
September, beginning of October. This is like a yeah, but you can get like a single ticket for like it's like $30. It's a
Oh,
little more, but it's like
shoot. What's making what is it about this year that's making it kind of crazy? Or like what are the lineups that's kind of like making this film festival particularly one to watch out
a
for?
lot of big names. I think a
Mm,
lot of people have been holding their films like still from COVID.
I see.
So we're finally getting this kind of like resurgence a little bit. But if you go to the lineup on that page and it'll just like list all the directors, like I think
Uh-huh.
showing because they just announced the main slate. It looks
Uh,
great.
Mhm.
But
gotta
it's I
check
think it's
it
a lot of
out.
the stuff from Canada is coming straight here too. Like
I see, I see.
yeah,
Oh,
Todd Haynes
Todd
is
Haynes,
opening.
Sophia Coppola. Wow.
Michael Mann's closing. Yeah.
Actually, like
Wow.
I feel like timing wise, it could work for me to come for this, but I mean, we can talk more of as for like
Yeah,
our
as the
next
time goes
next
on.
Hey.
meeting. Yeah.
Oh,
Hamaguchi,
they covers Maki.
Tatsumaki,
Yes, yes. I've heard of
Holland,
this, yeah, in our day.
two Hong
Oh,
Wow.
Sang-soos. Yeah,
in
exactly.
water
Of
and in
course.
our day. Mm, we're in everything now.
Alvin Vendors.
Vin Vendors is back. It's crazy.
Oh, he's and then he kind of did a it's like a Japanese like I think he
He's in
shot it in
Japan.
Japan. Yeah.
It's a Japanese film. That's crazy.
It's like
Oh, he
when
went back. Oh,
Yeah. I think Korea to Hero College is also coming out with the like or he came out with the new film already. I think it's called like Monster.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
have not seen it. Oh, Zhang Lu's it is a lot of really yeah, very
Oh,
solid
yeah, it's
lineup.
gonna be great. It's gonna
Hmm.
be really great. I didn't get a pass or anything this year because I don't have like a student discount, but I kind of really want
Yeah.
one.
I think it seems like it'll be well worth it.
Yeah, I
Um
think it'll be a good time. I think you guys should definitely
yeah.
think. Anyway, I can do my update. I'll keep it
Yeah.
quick. This past month, the main thing I was working on, I was programming slash curating a VR and interactive media gallery for Asian American International Film Festival, AAIFF. Um, it was like I originally got in, or I applied to do film programming, and they kind
Hmm.
of finished the film program by the time I got in touch with them. But they were
Yeah.
like, we were talking about my experience and some of the stuff I was interested in. I told them about my thesis and kind of this like virtual space, virtual CGI, volumetric stuff, and whatever.
Hmm.
And the director was like, "Hey, well, we have this interactive media gallery. We usually have done it online in the past since we started doing it like in 2019 or 2020, but we really want to do it in person. We have some submissions of VR films and stuff, but we don't have anyone to do it. Maybe you want to take this on." I was like,
Hmm.
"I'll do anything." Like, sure, you know. So I said yes, not knowing what it was going to constitute or how different from film screening it was going to be, because for one thing, it's VR films, and so to screen
Yeah.
them, I watch them like on my computer, but you don't get the full experience.
Uh-huh.
There was like a centerpiece work from like a festival alum that they wanted to show that I didn't even get to program. They were just like, she's
Yeah.
coming, do the thing. It was a really cool
Uh-huh.
project, but she didn't have a submission, file or anything. She just showed up with it, and
Yeah.
I didn't see it until we got there. But it was this really, really cool project. Here, I'll send you the link, and you can pull it up
Yeah.
on the
Send
recording.
it to the
there were two VR films and two kind of like experimental digital films. One was like a
Hmm.
desktop film, one was like an experimental doc. Um, and I had to basically, so I picked the program outside of the
Wow.
centerpiece one, and then had to organize this physical gallery space to put all this stuff
Mm.
up in. This first one, Temporal World, had these like, it was a VR experience, and then it had these external screens
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
would project the vision of the VR user onto those screens for other people to experience at the same
Oh
time.
wow.
And then the other one was a VR film, and then there was like a desktop film. It was like an audio-based desktop film. It was cool. It was a really good experience. It was really crazy. You know, with film screenings, you just like pick the film. There's a theater
Yeah.
where you're screening all the films, and you just like say we're going to show it at this time, and it's not like a whole building installation process. And I had no
Yeah.
experience with that, but it was a good experience. It was really cool, and I was glad I did it. And now I'm exhausted and don't want to do a film festival for like 5 months.
So
But
Only
yeah,
five.
you did all of these, or you programmed these?
yeah. I programmed these. I picked them out. They were submitted
Wow.
to the festival, and I picked the program of these films because I thought they kind of worked together in playing with Asian identity and playing
Yeah.
with kind of like media or like kind of atypical media formats and this kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, these two films that were non-VR were really cool. The two
Yeah.
future listeners, this Korean one was really cool. She has this wax cylinder recording of this old of that's like the first recorded audio of Korean traditional music like ever, basically from like
Mm-hmm.
1896. And it's
Wow.
really distorted, and the wax cylinder it was recorded on is extremely decayed or like not great. And so you listen to it and it's really crackly and really unclear. Um, and then it's a desktop film, so she has it open like in Logic or something like this or in Audition,
Hmm.
and then runs a denoising plugin through the recording, like kind of iteratively. And with
Hmm.
each iteration, you get less and less background noise, but you also get less and less actual musical content too. And there's this really interesting commentary built in about like Western algorithmic, like kind of cultural supremacy and how we categorize noise versus music and what's like to be removed, what is like, and you know, this kind of thing. So there's like a disappearing culture kind of on
Hmm.
display, denoising of
Oh,
this recording, which is really cool. Um, yeah, that was the main project I guess I did. Thing I've been working
Yeah.
on. I
I
got
mean,
to
this is
meet,
like
you know,
a
filmmakers.
massive undertaking too. So
Oh my God, bro. The
yeah.
guy who owned the venue that we were working for, I guess we're on recording, we're going on the internet, so I won't talk about it in too
Yeah.
much detail. It was a
I,
whole
I I can snip
it
it if
was a
I'm here.
challenge, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But yeah, it was cool. It was a very great
mhm.
experience. What else did I do this past month? I saw Barbie and Oppenheimer. I saw Oppenheimer twice
Uh,
actually and started to
I'm seeing
develop a
it. I'm
theory.
seeing it. This Saturday. I'm seeing
Nice.
Oppenheimer, but I really want to
Nice.
watch Barbie though. It's
Yeah.
actually so interesting because I had no intention of watching Barbie just because I guess I kind of had like I don't know, like a preconceived notion of like why would I go watch a Barbie movie? And then I found that it was directed by Greta Gerwig, so I was kind of interested at first. And then I read the general synopsis, and it actually seems like such a genius film.
It's
Like in the
wild.
way,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's surprising. Like it's very clear, I think, at a lot of times, even just in the movie, how much was kind of dictated by a marketing department and by a toy company to be a certain way.
Yeah,
And that part there can be pain points that way in the movie, but
yeah,
the thing that Greta Gerwig is able to accomplish in spite of and kind of alongside all of that is
yeah.
really it's iconic. I mean, it's an instant classic. I feel like even just on style alone. But it has this very like kind of meta modern, I like to say, like kind of way about it narratively, which is very cool. And Oppenheimer, I have a kind of theory about, but I won't spoil for you if you haven't seen it.
Uh-huh. Did
I'll
you
show
like
you.
it though?
I did. I liked it more
Okay,
the second time. Because
I
I
see,
was
I
a
see.
little thrown by it, the decisions in the first time. I
Mm,
was trying to understand it, and seeing it again gave me a lot of clarity. And I have a letterbox review that kind of breaks down what I
mm,
thought of it. I'll send it to you when you see it.
yeah.
Um, Actually, the greatest movie I saw this month, and this was also really interesting for me as a reflection on like metastability and like
Mm.
multi-camera kind of instantiation. Did you guys see the fight that broke out in Alabama this past weekend?
Hell yeah.
Is that the? I didn't see it, but
The Montgomery racial justice brawl, like
was that the one
Racial
about
justice, bro.
was that the one that happened on a boat or like it was like fishing or
yeah,
something?
yeah. It
Okay,
was like racist rednecks refusing to move their boat for this
uh-huh.
giant passenger ferry. They
I
start
see.
assaulting the black dock worker who's trying to get them to move their boat. One of these other guys on the boat, on the ferry, watching the incident. There's like 100 people on this boat watching the thing go down.
Yeah.
And like they start swarming this one dock worker, but then within like 3 minutes, like 20, 30 plus black people all come running into his aid and just beat the shit out of these white people. It's
Damn.
crazy.
I gotta go see it.
It's like there's so much going on and there's so many like kind of individual little fights. There's so many like crazy characters. This is one kid who jumped off the boat and swam to shore to help defend.
Yeah.
I read about this. Yeah.
It's the best part.
um it's crazy. And if you watch the recordings that they have like on the YouTube or on the news and stuff, and you pick
Hmm.
a new character to follow, like a new person to follow through it
Mm,
every
Yeah.
time, you get a completely different experience. It's
mm,
amazing. But it's great content, it's great entertainment, it's an amazing
Uh,
moment to happen and get to see on the internet. Like what a great thing to live in the future. But
yeah.
there's this also really interesting like kind of media theory sociological kind of element to this, which is that the situation and the anger and the justice and the kind of like truth, even like the evident truth of like what happened in the situation and where who was clearly at fault,
Hmm.
is totally verified and explained by not just the fact that it was recorded on a phone camera, but that there
Hmm.
were so many people recording, that there are like
Hmm.
50, 100, 150 different iPhones, all with different angles of this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The kind of main footage that you get when you look at it is like the first angle is that someone has the earliest recording from is on the ferry, and they're recording it from a distance because the situation's like starting to heat up. No one started
All
fighting.
right.
And there's another video from someone on the dock when the fight totally breaks out, and they have like basically the reverse angle of the incident.
Hmm.
And you see, not in this first shot because she's on the boat, but in the second shot afterwards, how big this boat is that they were blocking, and just like exactly how like ridiculous the audacity of these people was and like how much they deserve it. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And it's just like, but it was giving me this thought just about like, it's like a pseudo metastability, or like a metastability that occurs in real life as capture from all angles, as like kind of
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
compiled set of views that create a single kind of volumetric evidence or an
mm.
evidentiary kind of playback,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, which is really cool in terms of like getting justice and like getting,
Right.
kind of revealing the things that happen out here. I don't know, it was just very interesting to me.
It
But yeah,
also kind
that's my
of it
little
also
film
kind of
theory thing.
yeah. Also, I think like that is also so like cinema studies to read metastability out of this brawl, you know? Uh, and I mean, I can go like one step forward, and it like almost feels like what you're describing is like something from like Rashomon, where like there's like this
Mhm.
one incident that happened, but but there's an interpretation of it based
Right.
on the different angles,
Mhm.
where you witness it, how you witness it, etc.
Yeah. You get a
Um,
little bit from everybody, and it
Yeah.
yeah,
all kind of composites into this very,
yeah,
yeah, in the case of this, just this amazing story, like narrative,
yeah.
right? Like this comes out with the folding chair and the like,
Yeah.
oh, it's unreal.
I still have not seen the footage, so I gotta.
You
I'm
gotta, you
excited. I'm
gotta,
like I'm excited. Like
it's
it's
crazy.
like
I'll
untapped
put
territory
the
for me.
links. I've been sending these to people all like yesterday.
Yeah, send me
Yeah.
the metastable images or the footages.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, I mean, it's
I'll send
literally
you the
just like
scans.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's literally what you described is like literally just the axis of interactivity away from being Fortnite, that video. So you know,
Exactly.
it,
Exactly. It
racism
literally
included,
was.
you
It
know,
was like
racism over
Fortnite
the
down
comp
to having
included.
the Avengers pulling up and everything. It was like,
Yeah, and
uh,
yeah.
it's great.
I mean that brawl video along with that Eurodance parody video that's also been going around.
The
Wow,
Euro.
there's
Planet of the Bass. Have you never?
no. I mean, it's
Yeah, that. This is the real Barbieheimer.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I have seen this.
I have not seen it yet, dude. The world of the internet is it's like it just grows on itself, you know. It
True.
is alive. Cool. Well, it's
All right.
a lot of
Yeah,
food
that's
for
it.
thought.
That's it for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. No, I think this is I love how like from Youngwon, it's making me want to watch Ozu, and from Jackson, it is making me just dying to watch this brawl video because yeah, cinema
Uh,
from all angles.
two very
Um,
different kinds of high
yeah,
cinema, surely.
yeah. There you go. High and low, like Akira Kurosawa.
High and low.
Uh,
Um, well, let's kind of jump
mhm.
in and then maybe talk about some of our films that we watched. Sorry, I like did not put together um but I'm gonna go pull up the images right now. But let's start with Naked. I feel like um this was Young pick, and um
Wait, was this my pick? I thought it
It
oh
was
was
no,
Wes
mine.
not
Piece.
Young. This is Jackson. Um, but yeah, I'd
Yo,
love
guys,
to.
I didn't know what we were getting ourselves into here.
It was
I'll keep it
yeah.
a stack.
I'd love to kind of hear. I think like I feel like we all maybe had a little instance of like for me. I mean, I think it was a good instance of like I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I'd love to hear Jackson kind of like maybe
Mm,
like what you thought it was going to be and like what
yeah.
you kind of like realized, you know, like how your expectation was either
Mhm.
subverted or challenged or you know substantiated, you know, after you
Um,
did watch it.
I mean, I don't think I was surprised specifically by anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was mostly the level of intensity
Mm-hmm.
and like kind of grave depravity that it goes to.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't unexpected, but it was still like a lot, I think.
Yeah,
And I just wasn't aware that it was going to go that place. But I
yeah.
wasn't. I think okay. So the original reason I wanted to watch this is kind of weird, but um, I Francis Ha is one of
Uh-huh.
my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
I have the Criterion DVD, and I've
Mm-hmm.
watched this interview that she does, that Greta Gerwig does with Sarah Polley, who directed Woman Talking, like maybe 5 years later after that interview, um, about the movie, and they're talking about it and like kind of just reflecting on it, and then at some point Sarah Polley asked Greta Gerwig about her performance and how she developed it and if she had any inspirations or kind of touch points. And Greta Gerwig, being so weird as she is,
Mm-hmm.
goes kind of pauses for a second and goes like kind of like the David Thewlis character in Naked. And she sort
Mm,
of what? Like, that's
yeah.
super weird. So let me explain, because it's not about like mirroring any kind of behaviors or kind of like even like kind of the things that the character goes through, although there certainly are similarities between Johnny and Francis. They're both very smart, but they kind of can't, are like struggling to like kind of make it work for themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
um and Greta Gerwig talks very specifically, or talks about this specificity of performance that David Thewlis gives in this movie that I found so
Mm-hmm.
interesting, and that she wants to use so carefully, which is that like they these characters have they're kind of like clown-ish in that they're like very gestural, they're very
Yeah.
physical, very like kind of, I mean, Johnny's out here like making puns and stuff all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Um, but I think the way Greta describes it is that it's something that is like him, but not him, but could have only come from him as
Mm-hmm.
a performance, and that was something like kind of so specific that really spoke to her.
Right.
And so I was interested in that on that basis, just like, oh, I love that. I love the Francis character. I kind of relate to the
Hmm.
specificity of that character, and I would love to see another like kind of. I know David Thewlis from like Harry Potter and whatever, of course.
Mm.
Mm,
Um,
He was in Harry
but
Potter?
he's Professor Lupin, right?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
That I don't know why I did not make that connection, but
he
you're
looks
right, you're
grody
right.
in this one. Like he
Yeah,
looks so gross in this movie for sure. He looks like he smells terrible.
He's like more
yeah.
of a werewolf in this movie.
Uh, but yeah, it was mostly there was a specificity of performance that I was very interested in that I wanted to uncover, and then um, I think just other than that was yeah, like interested in kind of David Thewlis and the kind of I don't know, I didn't know anything else going in, but really enjoyed what I got after that too. Like that it is this really it's tough. Like it's heavy for sure, and there's some
Yeah, yeah.
crazy stuff that you are just fully witness to.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also like kind of weirdly beautiful.
Mm.
Um,
Mm,
in the kind of most darkly horrific way. You like it still kind of does retain a certain weird beauty to it, where like
Yeah,
I mean that final shot and the sun is amazing, and but also like these kind of small interactions he has, like with the I forget the security guard's name who lets him into the building, but then they walk around the building talking about
yeah,
like God and the point of life and like how we walk around, doing our job, and our job is absolutely derivative.
yeah,
And there's that moment like where he's talking about like the mark of the devil and stuff, and there's shadows in the window. Basically, they're just silhouettes in the window. And I thought the
hmm,
construction of all that was so is a beautiful looking movie in those moments, but it's also yeah, very deeply bleak. I don't
yeah,
know. I
yeah.
think like narratively, ideologically, philosophically, I'm still definitely trying to parse this movie and try
Hmm.
and like
Hmm.
know where it comes from. It seems definitely like Johnny is a character that we are set up from literally the very first minute to feel
Yeah.
very complicated about,
mhm,
Hmm.
where we are horrified by
Yeah, yeah.
probably at the very beginning,
mhm,
and then slowly kind of uncomfortably endeared to um
He is like
as
physically injured by the end of it, you know? Yeah.
yeah, right, like
Yeah.
he's been like yeah, like just
Hmm.
it's yeah. And so I don't know, there's something like kind of weird about it at play that I've been thinking about a lot, that is like karmic, but not directly karmic, like against the sinner
Hmm.
himself, but like that the sins of one person will extend themselves into harms committed upon those around them, or something like this.
Yeah, yeah,
Like Johnny is terrible to Sophie and terrible to what's her name, who he used to date from Manchester, and
yeah,
um, Johnny gets his comeuppance, but like Sophie is like totally a victim of like the kind of sins of this world, and this world that seems to orbit like kind of Johnny and all this.
yeah,
I don't know. So I'm
yeah.
really interested to hear what you guys thought.
Uh-huh,
And yeah, like how it landed
uh-huh.
with, because I really did like it. I thought it was definitely like I kind of very quickly as it ended gave it was like a 10 out of 10 for me, and I
Hmm.
probably won't watch it again. Like it was one of those movies.
I think there are so many movies like that that are like it is so deeply like ingrained in you, or like you rate it as one of the best films you watch, but like I don't think I have the energy to watch it again. Like I kind of felt that way with like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like it is like I feel like it was like a one and done like experience for me where I kind of, although I did sort of rewatch it on the airplane back. Um, but I think for this I have four quick thoughts, and then I'll kind of pass it off to Youngwang. Um, a side note before I like talk about the four thoughts, I actually was when you suggested, Jackson, that we should watch Naked, I was thinking of Naked Lunch, which is I think an entirely
Okay.
different film. So I was expecting to like I don't know, watch a film about like beatniks and whatever. And then I
Mhm.
still started watching Naked. And I was like, oh, this is like I was thinking of
This
a
is not what I
completely
thought it was.
different film. Yeah, yeah. But I'm like, okay, like it's already like, but I mean, like I'm not like
Beating
upset
of
or
a
anything.
sword. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think first thing was kind of just like quick thought about I guess like main character um Johnny and how I think Mike Lee does such a good job at just consistently and very overtly making it making the character so unlikable for me. Like I
Mm.
think the film is so unapologetic about, at least for me, like making him so unlikable, but in some ways like we're also like in like as you mentioned like endeared to him because I think we end up finding a little bit of Johnny in all of us, you know? There is a little bit of this like pseudo intellectual, this kind of um like wanting to have like omniscient point of view on everything kind of um tendency in all of us. So it's interesting. I feel like Johnny is like I once probably my least favorite character in all the films I watched, but also a very like a genuine character in a different way, right? That was my first thought. I think the second thought was also like it's I think what makes this film kind of sad for me is because like no there isn't really like conversation that happens, right? Everybody's kind of talking at each other, but there isn't really like it's not a really a movie about social connections that are being made. It's more
Right.
of a movie about how everything gets ever so slightly misaligned and ever so slightly misunderstood. And it's a movie where that like that kind of misunderstatement conflates and compiles on top of each other to just make a film about how genuinely impossible it is to communicate with others.
Mm.
And I think there's kind of a tinge of sadness in that as I feel it. Um, third thought was that um, I think Jackson, you briefly touched on it, where this film also kind of has that genealogy of like Eric Romer or Hong Sang-soo, where like like it's kind of characters interweaving with each other, and then there's like a conversation that happens in one scene that somehow is like a fodder for like a different conversation later. So I definitely see that kind of DNA in this film too, like where I see it in like films that I like Romer, like Wong Kar-wai, etc. But I think with this film, it's like that sort of social connection is not as tight as like you see in like films like Hong or Eric Romer, where everything just feels so well constructed, well architected. I think this film is probably like purposely left a little bit loose, left a little bit not as airtight, which um I think makes it
Mm.
like similar to the films that I've watched in the past, but not quite, right? Um, and I think this the last thought is like I also saw this more as like a period piece of not just about this like this kind of this like male tale of this guy who is wandering around London, but I think it is also very much like a commentary about what London was like in the 90s.
Mm.
So it's like in some ways a very like in some ways it's a very personal film about a single individual, but also kind of a historical film too, right?
Mm.
So I don't know, those are some unbaked thoughts I had, but also yeah, I think the film's atmosphere was a lot heavier than what I expected it to be. Even the music too was very kind of this like somber, like funeral kind of music. I feel like from what I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what about you, Young?
Yeah. No. I mean, just to jump off your, I really do agree with what Jackson said about that initial hostility the film has for the viewer, especially the way Deus's character is characterized. And just to jump off what Andrew said about people just kind of speaking at each other but not talking to each other. Um, but my sort of familiarity with Mike Lee led me to believe that this would be kind of a darker film. You're dealing with he does deal with the same, well, not the same, but similar sort of themes of like, you know, abuse, sort of an almost an addiction to suffering as a way to really not confront oneself. It was these sorts of really intricate but also really thwarted social relationships one have with each other. But I did not expect though is such a stylized main character and a stylized way
Mm,
in which he speaks. And
Uh,
yeah, I gotta say, I was almost filtered by this movie for some time because I really could not get into, at least in the beginning, the way this character would speak. Like it's not even
yeah,
just a matter of him being
yeah,
unlikable. It's I could not like I really and this really this movie really made me reflect on myself in a way I did not expect. I because I didn't know why I was sort of bouncing off this hard from this character.
yeah,
Because um and then slowly I think I became more and more immersed when I realized the more and more he speaks, the more and more he's digging himself into a hole.
yeah,
Less and less his words seem to mean what he means, and
yeah,
they slowly start to resemble noise that's a cover for something else, and that something else is never really clarified, even by the end.
it's like a
But what is,
mass kind of cry for help. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I think it started to the whole picture starts to snap for me when he talks to that security guard in the dark,
mm,
and then this is at the height of his so almost like ecstatic kind of talk about apocalypse and end of the world, and what are we doing here? Our jobs are meaningless. We don't do anything of worth. Just a cosmic sense of worthlessness kind of
mm,
settling in. And then the movie keeps going, and I think by the end, after he has an almost vulnerable moment, his wounds get bandaged. He starts crying in the stairs. He never really manages to triumph over that other yuppie monster character,
mm,
Jeremy, I think, kind of like
Mhm.
flits in and out of the scene like a demon. And then he gets so close to sort of at long last talking to another person, you know, stopping the stylization of his own character, stopping this like mode of soliloquy that he can't that seems to be his only mode of communication.
Mhm.
Um, and then but instead of actually talking to another person, he stops talking altogether and just wobbles out into the sun. And I think
yeah,
by the end, it really felt like the end of the world. And
Mhm.
it really felt like, yeah, like this was like this injured, the sight of the injured man just wobbling, heading towards nowhere in particular was sort of the final image of
mm,
the
Mhm.
world of the film. Um,
Mhm.
and it really felt, yeah, there was like there's a real dread um, to the film that I really, really did not expect to linger with me when I started the film. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, all my compliments.
I feel like
Yeah.
the way you describe your reading of the film, in some ways, randomly reminded me of Paris, Texas,
Mm.
in a reversed way, because this is a film about a man who talks too much and
Yeah,
eventually kind of gives up on talking, whereas like Paris, Texas is a man who like can't talk from the beginning and gains his speech over time, right?
yeah.
Um, I was just kind of thinking
So,
of it as you were mentioning it. Um, would you guys be okay like uh moving to West Indies
yeah.
just be
Yeah.
on time?
For the sake of time.
Yeah. So but yeah, I think definitely for me it was this was a really good watch, and I'm still like I don't know, like thinking about certain images
Yeah,
from
no, I'm still
there. Yeah.
processing this. Like, I might come back next month and have like be like, guys, I've been thinking about naked. Like,
Yeah.
we
Definitely.
just talk more about that.
All right,
Uh,
let's quickly discuss the West Indies. I'll be fully honest. I know I try to watch it with CC, like closed caption, but
It
I
was a
feel like
challenge.
I didn't totally understand every aspect of it, and I feel like uh some of the um subtitles was like a little bit off, but
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
I did hobble along, and I feel like I was able to generally get like a sense for the film. Um, but
Mhm.
it is also I'll just kick it off like very lightly, but this movie was not what I expected it would be. It is so like one of the most sublime films, but also like such a self-contained film too, in like the structural kind of like stage design sense. Um,
It's a remarkable feat, like
yeah,
achievement, you
yeah.
know?
I mean, it kind of feels like one long take film, right? Even though it's not like one shot. It's
Mhm.
not like a like Long Day's Journey into Night where there's like a 49 minute, one take scene. Like, but it kind of feels like everything was shot in one breath, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it has a very theatrical kind of quality that way.
Mhm.
right. I mean, I was kind of reading up on some backstories on this too, and it sounded like Matt Hondo literally had to break his back to get funding for this. Um,
Yeah.
and after watching it, I was like, okay, I get why this must have been so difficult to finance because it is so unlike,
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
Oh yeah, no, I was just
Yeah.
agreeing.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
in 1970s in France. I was gonna say, I think the year on this is 79, by the way.
Oh shit, yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, well, how did you, I guess, kind of hear about it, and how did you sort of um, kind of approach this film after like how what was your kind of thoughts on the viewing?
I mean, I think it was one of my classes. I don't remember which class and which kind. It's been some time too. Like
Mm,
a guest speaker was talking about Med Hondo, talking about African cinema in particular, and then she described this film. Um, and I think I would, and so I kind of knew going in when I saw it, it was going to be about a ship, sort of a again, Van Hondo broke his back trying to design this entire set in this one
right.
warehouse. So this entire film was filmed in one warehouse, which kind of adds
Yeah.
to that sort of compacted feeling of the world. Um,
Mhm.
and and I knew it tackled um, imperialism in the West Indies, kind of
Yeah.
this kind of really twisted dance of you know oppression, assimilation, um, you know, and ultimately kind of breaking and burning it all down.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think in a sense it really paired well with Naked because they're both extremely seemingly sort of compacted films
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
seem to be way bigger than they are by the end.
And they're both like also kind of comical too, right? There's like a
Yeah,
comedic element to both. Um, and then yeah, I feel like with West Indies, like I still don't quite understand, but there, how there's like that one group that keeps recurring, and like I think like one of them was kind of like wearing this like striped shirt, and then they're kind
With
of
the
like
drum.
around, yeah, and they're around the candlelight, and they just keep recurring. Um, like I really wish I had a better understanding of the film and like the linguistic like language sense.
Yeah, like if I spoke French, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
sad. Oh.
How did you Jackson? How did you view it, or I guess if you had any thoughts on it?
I was pretty challenged by this. I saw it in two sittings. I finished it this afternoon.
Hmm.
The subtitles were definitely challenging. You have to
Yeah.
like kind of discern a lot of it just from like, I mean, French is not the hardest language to like not knowing it kind of half translate to English just for what people say or to kind of
Uh-huh.
do.
Yeah.
And so kind of cross-referencing that with whatever English the subtitles could muster got me most of the way. But there are these
Hmm.
moments like, I mean, it's like a musical at like half the time, you know? It's
Yeah.
like
Right.
these dance numbers and people are like giving these grand orations in this very lyrical, very poetic, very kind of like not neat, kind of linguistically neat kind of
Hmm.
meter. And so like kind of auto translate is not going to capture like the essence there, but
Hmm.
um and so I think I became aware of that and that was going to kind of be the case in my watching experience very early on in the film.
Hmm.
And so might have maybe settled into trying to really appreciate like all the production design, all the
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
photography, all the like kind of technical work that very obviously goes
Hmm.
into constructing this and
Yeah.
as opposed to like the kind of maybe more just because I knew I wasn't going to be able to form like an extremely nuanced take on the like narrative
Yeah.
material. Um, but I guess I would just say like I mean I think that the whole staging of that space, and I don't know if it was an actual slave ship that they go back like an archived slave ship that they are shooting it on, or if it's one constructed for the film in the warehouse.
Hmm.
Um, but to contain it there, but then to also live across seemingly different spaces, right? They have that election.
Right.
Yeah.
They're actually literally on the boat, like, you know, carrying slaves on. Um, but it's never like when it because it establishes that reality is entirely within the room from the very beginning, and you see everyone all crowded together at the very beginning of the film. It's like, I mean, isn't like the intro title sequence like you're literally in the warehouse and you're like
Yeah.
entering the
Yeah. I was
up
gonna
on the
talk about. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's very theatrical in its execution performance wise and tech wise and all this kind of thing, but it's also very theatrical in its like kind of spectatorial positioning. Like it does feel like you are
Yeah.
coming into the theater, watching a play from the balcony, you know, and then like kind of get to at some points be in this more like kind of what is it like immersive theater,
Hmm.
what is it
Yeah.
called, the one in New York,
Synecdoche in New
Sleep
York.
No More,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a
Uh-huh.
Sleep No More, you know, you're in the
Uh-huh.
room, people are acting and walking around you. This is a New York kind of
Oh
like, yeah,
wow.
experience. It's
Oh
like a, yeah,
wow.
it's like a big hotel. And you
Uh-huh.
walk through the hotel as much as you want. There are different performances and different like scenes
Huh.
Yeah.
going on in different rooms of the hotel, but you choose how you experience it.
Yeah. My
Um,
Shakespeare class took me there. It was so
That
good.
is
it's very,
so
very,
cool.
very cool. It's not
Yeah.
so exactly like this movie, but there is just
Uh-huh.
that element of like being kind of freely in like a theatrical space that is very familiar, I feel like, in this movie. I mean the tech is amazing. I love the play of like altitude or like height.
Hmm.
And the kind
Hmm.
of like lower decks of this ship are like where the kind of West Indies indigenous people and like kind of all like reside like throughout the course of the actual performance.
Yeah.
Um, to walk up that staircase and up onto that balcony where it says, you know, like fraternity, whatever, whatever, like
Hmm.
itself like a kind of statement, the way costumes all kind of create this very clear, like there's so much to latch on to, even if you have no idea what anyone is saying or what is
Yeah.
actually happening narratively. There's so much to latch on to, like aesthetically,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that kind of really does carry it for me, or that was at least made it a very, very like kind of compelling experience,
Hmm.
even if I didn't follow it totally.
There's one last thing that I wanted to say before we transition is
Hmm.
I like the beginning shot too, where the camera is slowly moving across the warehouse to get to the actual setting of the movie, like the boat. It's like in some ways that's also a very like meta, like a self-referential shot because it is in some ways letting the audience be very aware that like a film is taking place, right? Like the it's like we all know that everything is already being staged from the beginning. Like it's like the camera knows that the whole thing is staged. It is in some ways like from the beginning, the film is breaking the fourth wall to let the
Yeah.
audience know that like, hey, this is not a real. So it is in some ways very much like
Yeah,
kind of like going to what we talked about like in some of our past meeting. It's like it is a movie about a movie because it is
Mhm.
very like self-aware from the beginning that everything that you're about to see is like not real, you know?
And it's not
yeah,
trying to hide
Um,
it. It's like make no mistake, like
right,
yeah.
right.
And it seems like the destination of its, I mean, I think it seems like the final destination of its sort of polemics against imperialism too. From the
Mhm.
very
Mm,
beginning, no matter total, how totalizing the hypocrisy is, the oppression is, the sort of enslavement is, seemingly, it's either being oppressed or being assimilated. Conceptually,
yeah.
there seems to be no way out if you just keep talking about it. The language of the film, for the I did I my 1 year of French did tell me that they were
I didn't know
it's
you
an
picked French.
extremely, yeah, it's an extremely theory heavy narrative
Hmm.
if you just listen to the movie.
Yeah.
But then from the very beginning, all of this is fake. All of
Mm,
all of imperialism is just a boat that we built in
right.
a warehouse. There's a
Mhm.
whole world outside, right? And
Yeah.
from the very beginning, the theatrics of the film is sort of marshaled against, um, the sort of the final enemy of the film itself. And it's almost as if, the people of the West Indies are destined to win. And
Mhm.
Mm.
I think there's something moving about
I like that.
Let's let's go decide on our spotlight films first because I do need to run in a
Yeah.
little bit because I have a dinner thing. But
Yeah,
let's
we
talk
went
about
over.
spotlight. Yeah, no, I also started a little bit late, so my bad. Um, uh, there is one movie that I wanted to watch with you guys if that's cool for me to suggest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
of course.
This is called Summer Palace. Um,
Hmm.
by I'll show you. It's it's a Chinese movie. Um,
2006?
yes, 2006, and
Hmm.
I feel like it is gonna be like like I don't know. It's one of those. It's a movie where the director, um, I think was banned from China after or banned from making films in China after
All right, yeah,
his
let's do
film.
it.
Yeah, because it is like a direct.
I'm down.
It's a romance film that sets with like the backdrop of Tiananmen Square protest, which
Mm,
it's pretty like yeah, pretty I think kind of like almost like a revolt against the like the taboo whatever in China.
Hmm.
So I was thinking this might be an interesting film for us to watch.
mm.
Yeah.
I'm down. That sounds
Uh,
great.
Yeah.
cool. Let's watch it. Um, yeah, that was kind of like I guess I was very like I had an agenda for the spotlight film because I think I knew I
Hmm.
wanted to suggest this to you guys.
All agendas
Yeah,
are welcome.
yeah, and yeah, and if anybody else has a thought on what to watch or if there's anything that yeah.
I have one. But if Young if you have one, I think this is like a flexible one. This is like a loose idea.
Oh, let's hear it. Yeah.
Did anyone see the new this new film, Return to Seoul?
I have
Oh, I have
I
not.
have not.
I have heard good things and I've been meaning to watch it for a long time, and I think maybe to watch it with some other Korean Americans would be really interesting.
Let's go for
I'll
it.
be down. I've actually been. I think I was choosing between watching this or the Banshees of Inisherin, and then I remember
Oh,
I think I just
nice.
watched the Banshees.
Yeah.
No, I think I was choosing between this or Past Lives. Then I watched Past Lives.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm very down to watch Return to Seoul.
Yeah,
Um,
right. I think this would be interesting.
Oh, the
yeah, cool. Let's.
director is Cambodian French.
Mhm.
Fascinating.
Mhm.
Okay,
Oh,
let's go for it.
the director also has a very like Asian American. Well, I guess Cambodian French is like as that is. Well, is that Asian American? I don't know. Anyway, like it is.
Yeah, it's like kind of
Yeah,
diaspora anyway.
yeah, that's work. Um, but yeah, let's watch this. And then in terms of our okay, so in terms of our next meeting, I think we can definitely find time to meet in September, just like over Zoom.
Mhm.
I actually think I might be in New York end of August. If
Oh, when?
Jackson, you might. So my friend is
Mhm.
um asking me. I think for me, it's like 70% going to be the weekend of August 25th to 27th.
25th to 27th. I think I might be coming back. I'm going away next week, like to see my family for like 10 days. I might be back
Okay.
literally 26th.
I'll also let you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I might potentially be visiting um like August 25th to 27th. So if I'm there, I mean maybe you can just
Yeah, if
catch a
I'm
film
around,
together.
I'd definitely be
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the
And if
Sunday I could do.
Youngguang, if you might be free that time, you could maybe like come through. But obviously this is like no pressure at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It might be cutting
Uh-huh.
it close to the beginning of the semester for me, but
True, true, true. Yeah.
I'll see what's up.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. And I think on for September, I think it'll be best for us to just meet virtually because that is going to be first like month of official school for me.
Mhm.
So I think it might be easiest to just, I guess, like meet through Zoom. Um, but I will let you know if I do come that weekend.
Yeah, please
Uh,
do.
yeah. All right. In terms of September meeting, I would say I think the week of September 10th might be the best for me if that works for people.
So like
Sure.
the 14th.
I how about the 12th?
Yeah, I can do
Okay.
that.
9/12, and I think we can also probably let's just say 5 p.m. Eastern time. That'll probably be best time for me. Is that cool? Everybody?
Yeah, sounds great.
Sounds great.
All right. I will send this out to you guys, just the agenda. Um, and yeah, I think these two will be really good films to watch. Let me stop sharing this. I'm gonna stop recording. All right.